All right, we've got the market dynamics through the end of June 2023, and here's the top 3 things you need to know about what's going on in our market today. So number 1, inventory is actually still really low, so we'll dig into that a little bit more. Number 2, demand is showing some signs of slowing down, so we'll see what that's all about. And then number 3, we're going to dive into rates a little bit further. So we're going to talk about how rates are being impacted globally and the things we need to be paying attention to see which way they're going to be going. So if you're interested in that, watch the rest of this video. All right, so let's go ahead and dig in a little bit on inventory like we always like to. So just a reminder, this chart shows the black line's closed sales for the month. The gray line is pending sales for the month. And then we have this red line, which is tracking inventory. So as I mentioned, inventory is still relatively low. We're going to both look at this and the new construction. So this is showing resale and throughout Ada County. So we have 829 listings. The same time last year, we had 1,386. So inventory is down pretty significantly year over year. Now we're up month over month. So we have to look at what's happening to demand. And when I mentioned, in the beginning of this video that demand was showing some signs of slowing, all I'm looking at is how many went pending. So the inventory went up a little bit, and we saw that the pending sales went down a little bit. So the inventory might have went up simply because there was less homes pending, right? If you look, there's about 40 less pendings, and there's about, like 60 more listings. So slightly more listings and a few less pendings. Now, why would that inventory go up, or why would the pendings go down? I think, you have a lot of people in June that go on vacation. We see that pretty frequently. We also see a lot of people listing their home too, because now they're, this is the time they want to move over the summer. So it's kind of a little bit of both. The buyers kind of take a break, and then the sellers are like, this is the perfect time to sell because we're on vacation. So people can look at our homes while we're gone. So it's kind of this funny little dynamic. All right. So what does that mean for new construction? Well, let's dig in a little bit deeper on the new construction side of things. So same sort of thing here. Now you might be like, Chase, why is there so many pendings versus closings? The reason for that is new construction oftentimes will list their properties before they're completed. Or even, they'll do a pre-sold and they'll mark it pending the day it goes pending. Let's just say that's June of 2022. But then it takes a year to build, or 6 months or 8 months to build, and then it finally ends up being a closing, 6, 8, 12 months later. So you're almost always going to have, quite a bit more homes pending than you will actually sold. So very, 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 very common. Now, inventory, again, same thing for new construction. Year over year, we are down. And, we saw builders kind of do, a little bit scared going into the end of the year, going into winter, wanting to make sure they don't have too much inventory. Their profit margins maybe had creeped up enough that they could just kind of say, hey, let's cut bait and get these homes sold. So we saw a lot of homes get sold in the new construction world, really in the last quarter of the year. You can see these pendings, and then of course the closings show up in March, and it's not because they sold in February or January. I can promise you that. It was October, November, December. We were seeing pricing very, very aggressive to get these sold. But then you can just see there's steady Eddie on the inventory. Well, that's kind of a problem, in my opinion. I think these builders have been a little too cautious, and look, it's their business. They can run it however they need to, and I'm not suggesting I know more than they do by any means, but when you see that we only have 2.6 months of supply for new construction and a balanced market is 5 to 7, I can promise you those builders are wishing that they did not, lower their prices as much as they did at the end of last year, because we're already seeing the prices creep up a little bit from when they, quote, bottomed out last year. Okay, so, and you can see the sales price is down. The average sales price is down 6%. But again, that's down from the average sales price that we had in 2022, not the average sales price at the beginning of this year. Yeah. So that's a little bit about the inventory side and a little bit about that buyer demand. Nothing on here, in my opinion, is any sort of major change that we've seen month over month by any means. Now, I do want to show you, though, a little bit about interest rates. So first, let's take a look at a mortgage calculator. So this is just a very typical mortgage calculator right on Google. And it's showing us that if we have a $500,000 loan and a 30-year fixed rate at 7%, which is where rates are at today, your payment's $33.27. So let's just change that rate to 6%. So now we're at $29.98. So essentially $325. If rates were to go up to 8%, it's about another $325. So and then of course 9's about 4,000. So at 6%, you are 3,000. At 9%, you are 4,000. Now, the reason I bring this up is because we see a lot of people are choosing to wait to buy a home. And they might wait for various reasons. Some people are out there saying, hey, I'm going to wait for the rates to come down and then I'll get back in the market. By the way, those are the same people that 2 years ago were waiting for prices to come down before they'd buy. And, rates and prices mean the correlation between the two is super, super significant in terms of affordability. Because even though prices are lower today, the affordability is actually also lower today because the cost to borrow money is higher. So what is going to cause rates to change? Well, I've shown you the CME tool that kind of shows you what the Federal Reserve is planning to do based on interest rate traders and what they're basically betting to see what's going to happen. Well, the biggest thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is how can the Federal Reserve stop raising rates and start lowering rates? Well, we need to have pain in the economy because right now inflation is still around 4% and wage inflation is massive because unemployment's super low. So a couple things we're looking at is where will the pain in the economy come? Now, if you're a real estate agent or you're a lender or you're a buyer or seller, the pain has begun in the housing market. The pain has been here for well over a year. The affordability has been super low. Way, way less homes are being sold today. And in large part because people don't want to give up their previous rates. So they're just not listing their homes. And buyers are sitting there saying, I don't know if I want to buy in this market. So we're seeing way less sales. So the recession's already hit the housing market, if you will. But when is it going to hit something else? And that's one of the biggest things that the Fed is looking at is, how can we get inflation lower? So they look at a couple key metrics. They look at CPI data. That's the Consumer Price Index. And that's basically a year over year number. It's how they calculate inflation. So right now it's at 4%. They really want to see that at 2%. Now they've driven it down significantly, because this time last year it was almost 9%. So, the Fed rate hikes they're doing right now are making a difference. But when do they actually stop? Do they wait until that CPI number gets down to 2%? Yes, that's when they would stop. But one of the other things they really need to see is unemployment go up. Because we're seeing pressure on income every single month. Wages are going up because there's just not enough workers for the jobs that are available. So they need to see some pain. And a lot of these businesses, just so you're aware, they work off of debt. And when debt was 3%, a year and a half to 2 years ago, they could borrow significantly more money, right? Because they can make certain payments every single month, and then they can do more with their business, do more projects, pay more people, etc. But obviously when, debt's now at 6 or 7%, so it's double what they were borrowing it at before, now they can do less in terms of expansion. And for those businesses out there that were operating off that debt and needed 3% just to break even, we haven't seen a lot of those collapse at this time just yet. So that's all I've got at this point in terms of interest rates. If you want to see interest rates, come down, watch for CPI. That's one of the major metrics. What's happening to the Consumer Price Index? We also want to watch what's happening to unemployment Those are the biggest indicators that are going to cause interest rates to pause. And then those interest rates eventually do affect your 30-year fix. But we always want to say this, when's the best time to buy or sell real estate? Well, the best time to buy is when you have a good enough reason and you can afford it. And if you have a good enough reason you can afford it, then you need to move forward and buy with confidence and not try and time the market. All right, so for those of you who are agents out there and you're looking for more in your business, reach out to us at LIVIAN Select. At LIVIAN Select, one of the things we specialize in is taking things off your plate. There's only about 5 things that help you make money in the real estate business: lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, writing and negotiating offers, and then script and role playing to get better at those first 4. Everything else, hiring new people, onboarding new people, doing marketing flyers and websites, and all of those things are not the things that we're necessarily good at, and they don't really make our business more money. That's what we take care of for you at LIVIAN Select. So if you want to find out more, be sure to reach out to us.